Very good afternoon to all. Welcome to Tally CA Connect. So today we'll be covering the TDS module, the configurations, the compliance, the reporting. Our expert for today is CA Amit Vaishampayan. Amit sir is a practicing CA and with expertise in auditing and system implementation. He is also a faculty at ICI for Tally especially and the topics as well. So thank you Amit sir for your time for today's session. I must tell you, Amit sir's previous session on TDS was very well received, and we had received requests on taking up the newer features on TDS, that is the 194Q. So today, Amit sir will be covering it all to give you a full glance of what TDS features in TallyPrime has to offer, and everybody can make the best out of it. As we have a great audience to begin with, we'll request everyone to please use Q&A for your queries so that we can keep a track and make sure as and when Amit sir's flow is done, each topic, and he can take up queries then. So thank you so much, Amit sir. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you. This is today's topic, TDS, and TDS is becoming critical with this particular section 40A small 1, which makes 4 condition that if the amount which is subject to TDS and the TDS is not deducted, then it becomes kind of a disallowance. So that makes this TDS even more critical. Since it is a chapter of CA Connect, I am assuming people will be having better knowledge of all these provisions more than what I have. But nevertheless, since it's a topic of related to income tax, this one particular provision of income tax pertaining to TDS is a little more draconian. There was one more provision, this 206AB, but now it has been omitted from 1st April 25. So I just had that slide earlier. Now I've just mentioned it as it has been omitted, that if the return was not filed. So I'll not discuss that much. TDS typically is broadly divided into 2 or 3 categories. 2 categories mainly. One is salary, the other one is other than salary. Other than salary is divided into 2 parts, domestic TDS and international TDS. So we typically have 3 types of TDS returns. One is 24Q, one is 26Q, and one is 27Q. So these are the 3 standard returns that we typically have. For giving this, making an attempt to explain this TDS, I am going to use this 2 companies and the case study of institute, which is this case study. All those people who are undergoing advanced ITT course at institute for CA final students. This was the courseware till about 2-3 months back. Now they have revised the courseware, but nevertheless I'm using the same case study. So this is one payroll as a case study, and there is also a TDS case study that is there as a part of this. I believe all of you are in a position to see the screen, right? This is downloadable, and if Komaladam permits, I can also share it with all of you. This is anyway available for download, and you can check it with your ex-students who are undergoing advanced ITT, right? So let's talk about these 2 companies which are created and the types of TDS that we have, right? So we begin with TDS for salary. So I don't know how many of you have actually seen Tally and payroll, using Tally for payroll. Tally is now capable of catering to multiple requirements. One of the requirement of the business is also payroll, and Tally is very much capable of taking that capability as well. What is required to be done is to, when you create a company, and you have to go to features and enable the payroll features. So here you typically have this payroll features. Once you say yes to both these questions, you will get this payroll features. Once you say yes to this payroll feature, this is where you're telling the system that I wish to maintain payroll, and this is where you're telling the system that I wish to maintain payroll for statutory compliances. So the moment you tell the system that I wish to maintain for statutory compliances, it will ask you to feed a lot of information. There's a lot of configuration that is there as a part of payroll. Once that configuration is done, your life would be far more easier as you get into this payroll, and then you are required to do the setup of payroll. You can see this payroll masters, and you can see all the payroll masters that are there as a part of income tax. So since current topic is pertaining to TDS or income tax for that matter, let's talk about the various pay heads. This here, in case of a payroll, your pay head is something like your ledger. The way you have ledger in normal books, you have pay heads in payroll. So you have pay heads, and then you have various income tax pay head details. So these are the pay head details that I have created. You can create it according to your requirement. You have this option for doing income tax declaration. So these are the declarations. If you can see, the number at bottom is about 7 more. So you have this standard declaration that you have that are required to be given. You have income exempt, and it is for each individual various types of income that are exempt. You can also take into that those incomes. These are the income tax configurations. On the right hand side, you can see not applicable, not configured, configured, etc. Because I have created a case study just to demonstrate to you as to how the payroll typically operates, and I've used the same case study which is there as a part of it. What I am trying to say is that Tally, though it is not very popular as a payroll software per se, Tally is very reasonably well configured in terms of taking care of average payroll size or even complicated payrolls for that matter. We have successfully implemented payroll at multiple locations, and trust me, it gives you very good results. So these are all the data that is required. Friends, we got to understand that in case of a payroll, the TDS doesn't work on actual values. It actually works on a projected value. So that is one difference as compared to the normal books. Here, the TDS or the entire payroll books basically operate on a projected value or a declared value. So you have multiple values. You have actual value, you have declared value, and you have projected value. And the TDS has to get calculated on different values. Now, there's one more requirement of data from previous employer. There's a possibility that there's a salary coming from previous employer, and there is also income coming from previous employer. So this is a place where you declare the income from previous employer, and this is the place where you declare the tax that has been deducted by the previous employer. If this information is available with you, you can feed this information here, right? So that your Form 16 and your TDS returns will be more appropriate as compared to the rest of the rest of the data. Once this configuration is done, you will typically have two vouchers. There are two types of vouchers which are typically required for payroll. One is called attendance, and the second one is called payroll voucher. Right? In this case, I have already entered the attendance vouchers. The attendance voucher looks like this. This is an attendance voucher. So I have entered two vouchers, one for the month of April and one for the month of May. And I've also entered a payroll voucher for the month of April. I will just demonstrate to you how the attendance and payroll vouchers operate in. Okay. So we have this attendance voucher dated 31st May, and we have this attendance voucher dated 30th of April. We do not have a payroll voucher for 31st of May. Now, typically, if you are agree, we have this bookkeeping is divided into four types of activities: compile, analyze, summarize, and present. And so is the Tally's gateway screen. If you can observe the gateway screen, it is typically divided into four activities. This portion is called compile, where you actually create a company, you create a ledgers, you create a groups. In case of a payroll, you create pay heads, so on and so forth. Then you analyze the data, where you do a data entry. Third one is summarization. So you have balance sheet, profit and loss account, summary reports, ratio analysis, etc. And fourth is presentation. So these are the four activities that we typically do when we maintain books of accounts. Now, in the current scenario, we are going to maintain payroll books, which also has a TDS compliance as a part of that payroll. Now, as we all observe that these last two activities, summarization and presentation, is already done away with. We all know that we don't have to prepare a balance sheet. We have to press a button and the balance sheet is ready. Now, friends, we got to agree with this development that this second activity of analyze is also almost done away with, right? I'll just demonstrate to you how it is done away with, and I'll also try and demonstrate why it is required to be done away with. This is activity of vouchers. I'm going to go for a voucher called payroll. I'll go for this voucher called payroll. I've already entered the attendance for 31st March. I'm changing the date to 31st May, right? And now I have an option here called autofill, right? I'm there on 31st of May, and I'm using this feature called autofill. The moment I say autofill, it takes me to this particular screen, and I say I want to use it for payroll. I want to use it for generating salary. Right now, because it's only second month, I'm going to use it on a declared value. Normally, in case of all payrolls, till 31st of December, all the payroll is run on the basis of a declared value. From 1st January onwards, normally they insist for a proof value. So from 1st January onwards, the payroll is generated on the basis of a proof value. Till 31st December, normally the payroll is always generated on the basis of a declared value. So I'm generating the payroll for the period 1st May to 31st May. I'm putting it for all items sorted by employee name, and I'm going to take it to this particular ledger called salary payable. If you want, you can have the salary payroll hit directly to your bank account, but I normally don't advise payroll books or any other books to hit the fund flow. I normally prefer to have the fund being managed by the fund manager person. So payroll here, I'm going to hit it to salary payable ledger. I said salary payable, and you can see the voucher. If all of you agree, we can see this voucher is reasonably complicated, and this voucher is generated at a press of a button. Friends, for your and my understanding, this second activity of analyze is already been automated. I have not typed this voucher, nor have asked anyone to type. I just have to say autofill, and it generates this voucher, and it also generates all other vouchers pertaining to payroll. Friends, I don't know how many of you have observed, but this is need of an hour. I don't know if you can see my screen. I'll just any idea what happened on 5th of June 2024? What had happened on 5th June 2024? These many number of transactions were entered on National Stock Exchange. 5th June 2024 was the day Narendra Modi got elected, was to get elected or to get defeated, and these are the number of transactions were entered into this NSE. NSE is a marketplace. I'm sure some of you, all of you, might have done the data entry for these transactions in various books. Now, just for our calculation, this I'm opening an Excel sheet. Madam, is my Excel sheet visible?
Yes, sir. So
Yeah.
also there's a request to go a little slower. It's
Oh, I'm
a
sorry.
little fast. Yeah.
Anything that I wish to, anybody wish to repeat? I'll try and go slow.
Yeah.
I'm used to particular classroom, so bear with me. So total number of transactions entered was 1,971 crore number of transactions, and your NSE typically operates for 375 minutes. So per minute there are 5 crore transactions. Now this was an exceptional day, but for the rest of the days, at least 1% of those many transactions would be there. So at least 5 lakh transactions would be there. Now, if we go by the normal mechanism with which we operate, where we are required to do the data entry, the analyze part of bookkeeping on our own, trust me, it is practically impossible. Now, this is one voucher of salary payable that I have generated. Just to show you how the software operates, I'll just try and generate the rest of the vouchers pertaining to this particular salary itself. This is a salary payable voucher where I have told the system that please generate this voucher. Friends, please trust me, this is the voucher in the form of voucher because we as accountants understand voucher. System does not need a voucher. You just have to tell the system generate payroll and it will generate payroll. Generate payment, it will generate payment. Generate sales, it will generate sales. It doesn't understand the concept of voucher. Tally works for convenience of accountants. Tally works for the convenience of chartered accountants because we have learned transactions as vouchers. We have to probably unlearn and relearn and learn transaction as transaction. The database understands transaction as transaction and it can automate. I have just pressed a button and it has generated a voucher. Probably I can program and say every end of the month you automatically generate a voucher and it will generate, it will process my payroll. Okay, I'm just saving this voucher and I'll generate the next salary payable voucher. This is again a payroll. Now I want to see my PF payable. So I go to PF payable. I did not even go to PF payable. I say autofill, go to payroll. This time I select PF contribution and I select PF payable and it shows me my PF payable. Right? Same configuration. Once I've done the configuration, it works for all my 12 months and also helps me to generate vouchers as well. Madam, any questions so far?
sir, there's one in the Q&A
Yeah.
that do we need to activate the payroll related configuration if we have a separate third party application to manage the entire payroll?
If you want to have the payroll reports, you'll have to configure payroll, right?
Okay.
Otherwise, how will you know that the payroll is there? System has to be told. Somehow you will have to get the data from whichever system into Tally payroll, or you just take one entry of salary to salary payable into Tally, whichever way you want to go to. You don't want to use Tally payroll system, it is a choice of a user. But my option is to just to demonstrate that Tally has a capability of payroll and it works well. Ideally, the topic today is TDS and not payroll, so I don't wish to spend much time on payroll per se. But
So
Tally has a
also
good
your
payroll.
screen is the Zoom screen. You can hide the banner where you can see no app Zoom dot is this sharing your screen, stop sharing or hide. You can hide it. Yeah. Yeah. And also the green one. You are screen sharing. Usko bhi, okay. That can be in the corner so that it doesn't disrupt the flow. You can go to the tally screen, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this was the data entry part of it, the analyze part of it. I will also demonstrate similar facilities for the rest of the activities as well. Now, once we have done this payroll processing, we go to payroll reports, and I'll focus more on the TDS reports per se. Now, in this payroll reports, you can go to payroll reports, and you have a lot of payroll reports, typically pay slip, pay sheet, and so on and so forth. So, pay slip is one which all of us are very keen.
all category. All, yeah.
So this is the payslip that will be there. This is how the payslip is generated. All those who are employees, uh, they know it well how dear this particular document is to them. Payslip is one of the most dear document to all employees. So likewise, we have a lot of other reports. Let me focus on to today's topic, which is the TDS. So you have this statutory reports. You have many other reports. In statutory reports, you also have other laws which are applicable for payroll. Our focus is on income tax, so let me concentrate on income tax. So we go to income tax, we have computation, and this is the way the computation is generated. Friends, you can understand right now for this particular employee we have given salary only for 2 months, but it has calculated payroll for the entire year, and it has also deducted tax. Now if you drill down, this operates the same way. You can see the first 2 months is actual and the remaining months as projection, right? So on the basis of 2 months actual salary, it has calculated salary for the entire year, and on the basis of those projections, it has calculated TDS, and accordingly the tax has been calculated. You can also see on the right hand side top here how the tax has been calculated. You can drill down and check whether the tax calculation is correct, right? So payroll as a system is self-sufficient enough to take care of the TDS calculation. What is required to be done is the configuration. It is easy. It is given in the case study. Uh, Nevertheless, I will request, in case if you have any problem, you can call me or my office or any other Tally partner that you know. Or finally, if nobody else is Komal madam, you can contact. They will be able to sort out your queries. But the software works smooth. We ourselves have implemented at multiple places and people are happy. So this is computation. We also can generate 24Q and rest of the details as well, right? So this was the payroll setup of salary. Madam, you had mentioned there is somebody having one question on Q&A. Is there any question which I can take
The
it up
other
pertaining to
question
payroll?
is in the chat that the salary payable should be created as ledger or pay head.
Entire thing has to be always created as pay head only. Two, three ledgers that are required to be created as ledgers, but you can also create those through pay heads only. I'll just demonstrate to you. Once you go and create here, what you create here as a payhead, you have this. If you can see, observe the screen, this also goes as a ledger. Now whatever payheads that you create also go and settle here as a ledger. If you can see, chart of accounts, ledgers. If you see ledger view, these are the ledgers that have been created. So all these have been created as a part of payheads, but it is now going and settling as a ledgers. So when you're creating a payheads, system automatically understands the relation between payroll books and books of accounts, and it accordingly creates a ledgers in the books of accounts. Is that query resolved?
So no further questions, we can proceed.
Okay. So this is as far as payroll TDS is concerned, and we have the projected computation. Now we go to the next and the most sought for activity is to enable TDS for a normal other than salary TDS. So this is where you can actually start enabling TDS for other than salary. So we have this second company, Comfort Enterprises, and we have this case study again for from the same case study for advanced ITT course. All those students of chartered accountancy who appear for advanced ITT course, I think nowadays it is not possible for them to appear for final exam unless they have cleared this particular course. This is 1 month course for soft skills as well as for IT training. This was an old curriculum. The new curriculum, they have changed and introduced some other ERPs. They have removed Tally, unfortunately, but nevertheless this courseware is good. You can use it for your own understanding and implementation. So this is the case study that I've used for TDS, understanding of TDS. This is the scenario. This is Comfort Enterprises, the company that we have created, and this is the company that we have created, Comfort Enterprises. So I shall be sharing this particular activity. Same way, once we create a company, we have to tell the system that we wish to maintain this company for TDS. So along with other features, we have to tell the system that we wish to maintain this for taxation, and amongst taxation, we want to use it for TDS, right? So this is available at features, Alt K. Okay, I just forgot one more thing before I started. For all those who are using Tally, every time that you start using Tally, you must verify three things. First, this particular license, whether you have license or not. Once you click on this left hand side top icon of Tally edit log, you will come to know whether you have license or not. I request all my friends, please use Tally with a valid license. Okay, there are a lot of advantages of using valid license Tally. This is the first thing that I request all the users to look for, check for. Second, you must check for whether you are working with the latest version of Tally. Tally spends a lot of time and energy updating its versions. The current version is 6.0. If you can see on my screen, every time all of you start working, please check the version that you are using. Check whether you are having a license. Check the version that you are using, and please ensure that you are working on a latest version. If you find that you are not on a latest version, please contact your Tally vendor or contact me or my office, and we will help you to update. Okay, irrespective of whichever location you are, these days we have tools with which we can always update your Tally, whichever version that you are. Once you have checked with this, now you have to understand that Tally also supports you for multiple activities, and Tally is also a kind of a dynamic product. So there are certain services Tally gives you as Tally, and there are certain services Tally gives you from other vendors. So you have to go to this particular line of online access services and press enter. It will take you to Tally website. This is a Tally website which tells you which all services that are activated. You can see this available, service disruption, and maintenance. So the first table is the services that are provided by Tally. You can see this Tally services, and then there are services which are provided by the third party. Now in my case, this NIC eWay build to system is not activated, so it is showing as under maintenance, right? So this is how service disruption is there. So rest all services are on. It is having a green tick, and only one service, which is a third party service, which is under maintenance right now, right? So these three things, all of us please have to verify: A, whether we are using a licensed Tally; B, whether we are using the latest version; and third, whether the other services and Tally services are active, right? These three things are extremely essential before we start using Tally. Sorry, I should have taken this as the first thing. Nevertheless, let's come back to this. We have created this particular company called Comfort Enterprises, which is meant for TDS implementation. We go to that company, we go to features, and we tell the system that we wish to maintain TDS. We have said yes here. The moment we tell the system that we wish to maintain TDS, it will ask you for this TAN details. So I've given this TAN details. Either it is as mentioned there, or these are real TAN details that will be there. You can press F12 for additional information if at all you need them. So you'll have all this information, right? So this is the information that would be required. This is the initial basic configuration where we are telling the system that we wish to maintain TDS. So this is the screen. Next is that once we have enabled TDS, it will ask us to create what we call it as TDS nature of payment, right? All of us, since we are attending my session, must be knowing all the provisions of TDS. I just want all of you to check whether my Tally knows all the provisions of TDS. So there's a helper. This provision, you can see it on the screen. There are about 25 lines visible, and there are 19 more lines. I leave the session to all of you. I assume all of you are also working hands-on. If you're not working hands-on, please start your systems and check whether you have license. Friends, this facility is available only if you are using Tally license. If you're not using Tally license, this Tally help facility is not available, right? Is there any provision which is not covered by Tally of TDS? Komal madam, any questions?
No questions.
Sure.
Just
Normally,
one comment in the Q&A is nature of payment under section 192B is not showing.
what is the okay? Madam, please take it up. We'll take it up with Tally and try and ask them to add it.
I think somebody has written that 192B will come in payroll. It is TDS on salaries 192B.
Okay, 192B is payroll, right? Yeah. So 192B will come as part of payroll. This is for other than salary. So 192B would be covered as a part of payroll. I will go back to that company towards end. We can check whether 192B is getting covered there or not, right? So this is the configuration that is there for this particular case study. I have already created some 3-4 TDS nature of payments as per the case study. Go back to case study. Yeah. So we have this Comfort Enterprises, and these are the type of transactions. In this case, it is rental expenses, rent on machinery. So this is the first type of transaction in the case study that we are assuming. So we have created this case studies, 4 case studies. We created this as rent on plant and machinery. So this is what we have created. We have this option here, F12. You can decide if any other question that you need to have, and you can add, say yes or no to those questions. If PAN is not there, I assume that the tax required is about 20%. Here, this is the place where you have to actually select. When you go here, you have to go use this helper and select the type of TDS deduction that you have, TDS nature of payment that you wish to have, and this is what will get covered here. right? This is the critical activity of TDS implementation in Tally for other than salary. In case of salary, I showed you the other company where the TDS configuration is required. This is the place where you create TDS nature of payments. And in the other company of salary, I'll just go back there and show you once again there. We'll go to alter, show more, and income tax pay heads. These are the pay heads I have created. These are the income tax declarations. These are the configurations, right? So this is for payroll, probably that 192E what they mentioned, and this is for other than payroll. So we were at nature of TDS nature of payments. We have configured 4 TDS nature of payments, 3 of which are given in the case study. So first one is this rent on machinery. So along with TDS nature of payment, we also have to create a supplier, expense ledger, and a TDS ledger. So we have created these other 4 configurations. So we need a ledger. In this case, we have created this quick agency who's a supplier for this particular rental activity, and we have created this as a supplier. We have to also define what type of supplier this particular agency is, and we have to also capture the PAN number for the same, right? For one of the agency, we have not captured PAN number. We'll also see what happens if you have not captured the PAN number. If you recollect, when we are doing the configuration for TDS nature of payment, we are defining here what should be the rate of tax if PAN is available and if PAN is not available. So this is if the PAN is available and this is if the PAN is not available, right? So this is the nature of payment that we have defined. This rate may be wrong. I have created this as per the case study. So we can actually pick it up, and most probably the tally nature of payment, once you select it, gives you correct rates. But nevertheless, if you have an option to change it, right? So these are the 4 nature of payment that I've created. Tally as it goes is completely flexible. It gives you all the data, but if you want to make a mistake or you want to make a changes, you are allowed to make the changes and configure it according to your requirement. You are also allowed to ignore the exemptions, right? So when you're configuring the Tally TDS nature of payments, it also allows you to ignore the exemptions. So it operates correctly, because many times we ourselves, like even I many times instruct all the accountants saying that, boss, don't keep monitoring the exemption limits, please deduct TDS across, right? So that it becomes easier for all the suppliers that the TDS would stand deducted. The first was TDS nature of payment. Second was the ledger of a party, which was quick agency. Third would be the ledger or a group. Now, if you go to this particular case study, it also talks about creation of a group. Here it has created a group called rent expenses. So what it tries to tell you is that you can also configure a group where TDS can be applicable. So all the ledgers appearing in that group, under that group, the TDS would be automatically applicable, right? It also has a structure, and once you have made it applicable to the group, it will automatically, any ledger created under that group. I hope all of us are Tally users and we are aware as to how Tally typically operates. So Tally has a concept of ledger groups and ledger per se. So once the Tally TDS is made applicable at a group level, it can also becomes applicable at a ledger level. In this case, we have created this Tally rent expense as a group and rent machinery as a ledger. So rent on machinery is a ledger. So this is the ledger that we have rent on machinery, which is an expense ledger. We have quick agency as a supplier ledger. We have created TDS master, and then the fourth type of creation activity is TDS on rent machinery, rent of machinery. So now we'll see that TDS on rent of machinery. So this is again a ledger that we are creating. While creating this particular thing, it will ask you for selecting TDS, and it will ask you for selecting this. You can select this or you can select any. If you select any, you will have to select the type of transaction at the time of doing data entry. You have a choice: either you select it at configure it at the time of creation of these ledgers, or you select it at the time of passing a transaction. It's your choice which way you want to configure it. I normally prefer to configure it separately at a ledger creation level itself. So you have separate ledgers, and it becomes easier for us to identify which TDS ledger is for which purpose. So I have created also 4-5 separate TDS ledgers for each type of activity. Normally, any business will not have more than 3-4 type of TDS ledgers. So that is the reason I've created this 4 type of TDS ledgers. So first one was the TDS rent on machinery. So these are the 4 type of ledgers that we have created. This particular case study, it is insisting for passing a journal, which I normally avoid. I insist that, though now Tally has started calling back itself as TallyPrime, Tally essentially is an ERP. It is a transaction repository, and hence, as far as possible, my view is that we should avoid journal. Journal is a type of transaction with which you can debit or credit any ledger. So I normally suggest to avoid journal. It is better to use Tally as a purchase entry rather than journal entry. So once we have created these basic transactions, we can pass a transaction. I have already passed the transaction. I'll just open the transaction and show it to you. So this is the transaction, 30th April, and this is the transaction how I've entered. I'll just go to the next month. I'll go to 31st May, and I'll try and pass this transaction just to show you, just to demonstrate to you how the TDS gets calculated automatically. Once we have done this transaction, and when you go to voucher entry, the TDS calculation takes place automatically. Okay, now this is a purchase type of transaction. When we are passing an entry, we have an option here to change mode. So you can enter purchase as an item invoice. In this case, you can check here. This is name of item, quantity, rate, amount, etc. I can click on change mode. You can go to accounting invoice. Here it is particulars. Now, in this case, I'm talking about passing a transaction for rent on machinery, which is my accounting invoice and not product invoice. So I shall be using accounting invoice mode and not item invoice mode. So I've selected accounting invoice mode. I have changed the date to 31st of May 2024. I'm selecting the ledger as rent on machinery. I have typed the amount as 3 lakh rupees. I'm selecting the TDS ledger, TDS rent on machinery. I selected the ledger. System calculated this particular value of TDS on its own. I can click on this related reports, go to TDS analysis report, and check the TDS analysis, whether the TDS analysis is correct or not, right? So in this case, it is showing me that the TDS analysis is correct, right? In case if there is a difference, here the Tally system, the way it is configured, it assumes that a person who understands TDS will configure the system at once. The person who will be doing bill passing activity may not have knowledge of TDS. So he'll only pick up this particular ledger, and if this ledger is not entered, suppose by default that the person who is passing this transaction has forgot to select this particular ledger, you go to related reports, go to TDS analysis. Related report. Sorry.
हे सिलेक्ट करा सर TDS ledger.
केल्यानंतर येतं पण ते एरर नाही दाखवत त्याचं नाही सिलेक्ट केलं जातं. Wanted to show that error ना. See, now it is showing you here that the voucher has tax implication, right? Can you see this error? Because I have not selected this particular ledger, it was showing me an error that the voucher has a tax TDS implication. So this is the error that system generates, and then it allows you to save this voucher, right? So I have not typed the TDS value. The TDS value got selected on its own. This is how the TDS configuration typically operates, right? So this was the first transaction of TDS on rent on machinery. Okay, now comes to the payment part of it. The payment to party is also not required to be passed as a normal payment voucher. What is expected at this level is to go to display, go to statement of accounts, go to outstandings, go to that particular ledger. Let's say we are going to the ledger of quick agencies. We'll see these two transactions which are pending, and we can see two transactions pending. We decide that as of 31st May there is only one transaction which is due, so we select this transaction by pressing space bar, and then we have an option here on the right hand side called settle bills. So we just click on settle bills, and it generates a payment voucher for us. So we can select a bank and say accept yes, and the payment voucher is generated. So we don't have to go and pass a payment entry. So typically bill passing entry and accounts payable entries can be outsourced with the pre-configuration. So when those guys actually log in, they will not be having an authority to pass a payment voucher. They will have to go through this particular outstanding settle bills mechanism, so that every payment will get settled only against a bill which has already been entered. I hope this concept is known to all the people. This is an instrument number, which is a check number or the NIFT number that we have typically, and now I'm passing this particular payment entry, right? So this is how the payment entry typically happens. So we don't have to actually go and pass a payment entry. If you have observed, even here the voucher data got picked up from the system itself. I just had to go and tell the system that I wish to make payment, I wish to settle this particular bill, right? This was the case for the first case of rent on machinery. Now we'll talk about the second case where we are buying a product. So there may be a situation where we are buying a product where the product is also subject to TDS. So we have to create a product, a stock item. So in this case, I have already created that. So I'm just demonstrating it. Tally allows you to create a product. So we have a stock item. I have created this as a stock item called software. And on this software, this is an option here for TDS. You have to select this particular software, this particular product gets covered under which type of activity. In this case, it gets covered under fees for technical services for software, and the rate is 10%. So I've created this as a product. We would be creating this as a TDS nature of payment for software. We would be creating a ledger for the supplier by the name Sky High Solutions. I've given this a PAN number, and TDS on software, which is the TDS ledger. So these are the four configurations done, and then we have entered into that particular transaction of software purchase. Now, if you observe, this is a item invoice whereby this particular thing is a product and not a ledger. This is a ledger and this is a product. So even if you have a TDS being applicable on a product, TDS gets applied on product, the way it calculated for rent and machinery, it also calculates on a product. So if there is a situation that the TDS has to be calculated on a product, we'll also discuss it when we are discussing 194Q, that the TDS gets calculated on product as well, right? So this is a product, this is the nature of item, name of item. I remember discussing this change mode. So this is an item invoice and not accounting invoice. The previous one was an accounting invoice. This quick agency was an accounting invoice. This was particulars. This was a ledger. In this case of Sky High Solutions, this is a software and this is a name of the item. So TDS gets applied on ledger as well as on product, right? So we have passed this transaction. Now we are creating one more transaction by the name this Mayur agency. While doing this transaction of Mayur agency, which is a commission type of transaction, this is the same activity. The third type of transaction is a commission type of transaction. Again, it is insisting for a journal entry here. I normally advise not to pass a journal entry unless it is compelling that the transaction otherwise cannot be entered as purchase return, sales return, receipt or payment. Then only the transaction should be entered as a journal entry. Otherwise, it is always advisable to enter the transaction as purchase or purchase return, sale or sale return, so on and so forth. Now, in this case, the party's name is Mayur Agency, and the Mayur Agency has, for whatever reasons, has not mentioned the PAN number. So we shall be creating a TDS nature of payment as commission or brokerage. This is the TDS nature of payment we have created, and we have mentioned here that if it is without PAN, the TDS should be deducted at 20%. Same way, we will create the nature of payment. We shall create the party as Mayur agency, and we have not mentioned the PAN number. The PAN number is blank, right? We don't have PAN number on our record for this particular party. We have also created TDS and commission as a ledger. And we have gone ahead and passed the transaction for Mayur agency. Now, if you can see this transaction, system on its own has calculated the tax at 24,000 rupees, because we have told the system that if there is no PAN available on record, then you must deduct TDS at 20%. So while booking a purchase of 1,20,000 rupees, it has calculated TDS of 24,000 rupees, right? So this is how system will calculate TDS if there is no PAN mentioned at the time of creation of a ledger. So we have to be very careful at the time of creation of a ledger. Then we go to this 194Q. So I have deliberately kept the name of the ledger as 194Q only. So you have an option here again. Go to alter, go to TDS nature of payment, and I mentioned here as payment for certain sum for purchase of goods. So this is where you create this 194Q as a TDS nature of payment. The tax rate is 0.1% with PAN. Without PAN, it is 5%. But I doubt 5 lakh rupees देने वाला कोई आदमी आपको without PAN बंदा रहेगा करके. It must be mistake at our end while configuring. So this should not be the case. Friends, please remember 194Q and 206C1H operates against each other. It's a mirror requirement. If the person who has raised invoice has already raised a TCS under 206C1H, then you're not required to do 194Q. Assuming that the supplier in this case has not done 206C1H, 194Q is what will be required. So this is what you have to do as create as a nature of payment. We have to also create a ledger for 194Q. So I have deliberately mentioned the name of the supplier as supplier under 194Q. I don't think any supplier will have with this name. So we'll have typically a name of a supplier. This is my sundry creditor for 194Q. I have also mentioned the PAN number here. Since it is 50 lakhs plus rupees worth of invoice, I have created a product. It is less likely that a single invoice of more than 50 lakh rupees would be there. So we need to have a product purchase normally for when the value is more than 50 lakh rupees. So I've created a stock item called item for 194Q. So once you're creating this product, you have to also tell the system that I am subject to 194Q. I have mentioned here that this particular transaction of product purchase would get covered under payment for certain sum of purchase of goods. The TDS rate would be 0.1% as the product, and for our convenience, we have also passed this particular transaction of 60 lakh rupees. We'll pass it again once for our understanding better again as of 31st May. So this is as of 30th of April. This particular transaction has been passed. This is purchase of product. This is the product name, item for 194Q, one product, value is 60 lakh rupees, and 0.1% of that would be the TDS. You can check the related report, TDS analysis, and it gives you a TDS analysis that 0.1% of 60 lakh rupees, 6,000 rupees worth of TDS would be required. This 194Q is not there as a part of case study that I'm showing it to you. This case study does not have 194Q. It only has rent on machinery. It has commission. It has uh, software purchase. These are the only three case transaction types it has covered. Right. So this is the case study that I'm running. Let's try and pass one transaction for 194Q. Let's go to vouchers. Let's go to 31st May. We are selecting an item invoice. We are here into change mode. We are selecting an item invoice. We are selecting a party as supplier under 194Q. Purchase of product. Item for 194Q. One product. 60 lakhs. This is item. So I'm selecting only one item right now. Now this is ledger. So I'm selecting this TDS under section 194Q, and it calculates TDS for me. Is this good enough? Okay, so this is how TDS would be calculated. Madam, any queries are there?
Yes, sir. Actually, quite a few queries are there.
Yeah.
So maybe related to this, if you can just open the Q&A.
One second.
So Q&A you'll find under more.
Yeah.
हाँ इसमें है. Yeah.
Yeah. What is the first query? Do we need to maintain TDS rate manually or in TallyPrime, or it can be fetched from any source? Tally per se, this is the first question from anonymous attendee. Uh, Tally per se keeps updating the TDS rates, but in case if you find that the rate given by Tally is not good, please mention it to Tally or mention it to my office or Komal Madam's office. We'll try and correct it. But Tally's rates normally are correct because there is a team specifically which is working on it. So we can rely on Tally's help file that Tally gives. If you are not happy with it, then you can always change it. Tally doesn't force you anything. Tally is a very flexible software. Tally gives you help. If you're not happy with the help, you are free to change it. Santosh Kumar is asking, if we enable the TDS procedure now in June, will it impact the earlier data? It will not impact earlier data, but I would advise you can always do a correction of that data by passing those entries so that your data would be aligned, because your TDS returns are quarterly typically. So when you're passing a quarterly return for April, May, and June, you need to have the data for April, May, and June as well for the TDS return typically. I hope this answer is there. Next is anonymous again. We can still have single TDS duty ledger and select the nature of payments as any. Yes, you can do that. If you're doing that, then every time that at the time of passing a transaction, you'll have to select the type of transaction under which TDS type it has to go. Nature of payment you have to select. Tally doesn't force you. I'm just trying to make my life easier for demonstration. And I believe sir, here the understanding is that we are actually trying to have separate data entry operators who will not be having a knowledge of TDS. You are a chartered accountant, I'm assuming, and you yourself you are going to decide how to pass an entry, or you're going to train 1%, 2%. But if there are something like 4,000 entries being passed regularly by the passing clerks, I mean, accounts passing clerks or accounts payable clerks, then it is not possible for you to monitor the transaction at that level. So they will just be going doing kind of a blind data entry on the basis of whatever configuration that you have done, and you shall correct the data as and when it comes in front of you. We'll also go to that how the data appears in the TDS returns. Okay, fourth query is from Chandan Mittal. How this entry can be done with inclusion of GST adjusting advances. Uh, how this entry can be done with inclusion of GST adjusting advances. This is part of GST activity, Chandan sir. Either I will be conducting or Komala madam, who's going to conduct GST training in short while?
So actually, we had in quite some. We had in the past. We can arrange a session on the
No problem.
GST basis.
There are
Yeah.
two issues, Chandan sir. I don't know whether you're talking about GST TDS or you're talking about the GST advance adjustment. Both those things can be done. You can also have TDS being deducted on advance payments as well. So that also can be taken as a part of TDS. But there's little confusion, it seems, between GST implication and TDS implication. My current session is purely based on TDS configuration only. The next question is from Rajiv. Is it possible TDS ledger automatically selected in voucher instead of typing while TDS is enabled already? Yes, at a little advanced stage, this kind type of configurations can be done. In fact, that is what we are mandating slowly. I just demonstrated to you that the voucher itself is getting generated automatically. So the four activities, as I mentioned: configure, analyze, summarize, and present. Summarize the present already gone. The analyze activity also we are typically assuming gone. I'm sure, Komal madam, I think we must have demonstrated the bank statements getting imported, right?
Yeah.
Previous
Yes.
transactions, previous trainings.
Yes.
Friends,
Yes.
this 6.0 onwards, we have bank statements getting imported. So the data entry for bank statement receipt and payment itself is not required. Your sale is already e-invoicing. So if the sale is already invoicing, and if you're using the features of purchase order, sale order, then even sale is not required to be carried out. What is required to be entered is sales order. Once the sales order is entered, entire order to cash is at one press of a button. Similarly, P2P, procure to pay, is also at one press of a button. You have to just enter purchase order. Rest of the things happens at a press of a button. Similarly, from order to cash, only the sales order required to be entered. Rest of the activities happens at a press of a button. This is the whole idea of the configuration of the software. You don't enter the same transaction multiple times. You enter the transaction only once, and then you get it linked. What is possible is that against one purchase order there may be multiple purchases. The relationship between purchase order, GRN, purchase return, that is debit note, and payment, maybe one is to many, and that also is possible. While booking the transaction, you can also have a relationship of one to many between various transactions, right? So even that is possible. 194Q setting and data entry auto, TDS on purchase. Rajendra MEHT, I have not understood your question, but I believe 194Q setting and data entry auto. I don't understand what is the question here. Currently, I am doing the data entry.
Yeah, so
You can
actually,
set
sir,
it
this
for
might
auto.
be previously that they want to see 194Q. In fact, one more query is in the chat as well that they want to see 194Q, that as the threshold limit is 50 lakhs, the remaining balance it should be to compute the TDS. How it can be done, please show.
So if you I go here,
Also, somebody's asking that if we have
I'll
to
just
minus
I'll
50
just show that.
lakhs,
I'll just show
the,
that. So
yeah.
this is an alter. This is TDS nature of payment, and this is for 194Q. So I have currently not configured here. If you configure here as threshold limit as 50 lakhs, and I make it applicable from whichever date, let's say assume I'm making applicable from 1st of June. I made it applicable from 1st of June 25, right? And now I'm passing a transaction voucher. I'm passing a transaction on 30th of June. I'm again passing a purchase transaction 003 dated 30th June for from supplier 194Q, purchase of product, item for 194Q, quantity 1, 60 lakh rupees, and you have TDS. Sorry, the item is only 1, and then you have TDS for under section 194Q. One second.
So they have said that your year is 2025, which is why.
Oh, sorry, it has to be 24. My mistake.
More
No, I have to just change it. Okay. So I have just have to change this 24. Accept yes. I'll go back to my voucher. 30th June 003. Supplier 194Q. Item for 194Q. 60 lakhs. Still calculating 6,000. चेंज नाही झालं
ते जूनच्या आधीची तारीख आहे सर.
ना जूनच्या नंतर आहे ते.
ऑलरेडी इनके पास केली आहे त्याच्या
केलं
ती डिलीट करायचं.
194Q आहे ना त्याच्यानंतरचे डेट आलं पाहिजे. 1 जून पासून घेतले ना, 1 जून नंतर बदलायला पाहिजे थ्रेशोल्ड.
So there are quite a few comments in the chat that
I don't know. It
first
actually works
voucher needed to be
properly.
deleted, or somebody is
No,
saying
no,
that it
it
has
works well.
fallen.
It works well. I don't know why it is not happening right now. First voucher need not be deleted. It still works well. I'll just demonstrate to you. I'll get back to you for that person. You can take my number. I'll revert back to you on this particular. It works well. There's no problem about it. Yeah. We'll handle the next question. This is possible in multiple bills settled at a time. Umesh Shenoy is asking multiple bills to be settled at a time. Yes, it is possible to settle multiple bills at a time. We're talking about settlement of bills, right? You can go to outstanding. Instead of selecting one line, you select multiple lines, and you can select and then multiple line bills. You can settle it at one point of time. So this question can be answered. Mohammed, sir, can I deduct TDS without purchase voucher and prepare TDS return from Tally? I have not understood this. How will you deduct purchase TDS without purchase? Either you have to pass a journal entry or you have to pass a purchase entry, right? How will the system will know? Madam, this question I have not understood from Mohammed. We can
So we
park it for
can
the time being.
move forward because we have many open questions.
194C, in case of 194C, can the configuration for categories of 1% as well as categories of 2% be done in the same screen? Party वाला decide करेंगे. Product or configuration.
वन बस कॉन्ट्रैक्ट करना
Hmm. So you can create two TDS nature of payments, 1% and 2%, and the time of selecting you can make the changes. See, basically it allows you to do a configuration at a ledger level, but it also allows you to override that particular value at the time of passing of a transaction. That is very much possible. Please give an example by booking entries for. Okay, this Chandan Mittal sir, I'll demonstrate this particular value for you. About 50 lakhs, that is what I'll demonstrate for you. You have to minus 50 lakh limit. Himani Panwala sir, I also demonstrate this for you. 50 lakhs exemption limit has to be taken into consideration. This value I will demonstrate for you, sir. It works well. There's no problem. I have currently configured it that way. GST part has to be excluded from TDS. Yes, it excludes GST part from TDS. The way you configure it excludes GST part from TDS. How to enable TDS on stock? Okay, I have demonstrated this. I'll just show it once again. Admin has asked this question: how to enable TDS on stock? When you're creating a product, you go to alter or create a stock item. You have a stock item. Both the stock items I have created. Let's say take an example of a software. When you're creating this software as a product, you have this option called statutory details. You press F12. You have this set TDS details as yes. Once this TDS details are set as yes, you will have this question at the time of creation of an item called set and alter statutory details. Say yes to this. Then, like ledger, you will have this set and alter TDS details. In this case, you have taken it as software. So we have selected this particular nature of payment and then the rate. This is how we have to configure on stock.
So there is one more suggestion for
Yeah.
the above 50 lakh TDS. The configuration screen, you need to select yes for the above threshold TDS deduction. It was selected no on your screen. That might be the case.
Yeah, I'll revert back to you. Let's run through this. Then we'll go back to that 50 lakhs 194Q
Okay.
wala system.
Just to ask you, have we completed the on the content because the questions will keep on.
Let's
Yeah.
do it for just 4:10, right? Let's do it for another 3-4 minutes. Then we'll go back to that. Basically,
Okay,
now I have to
surely.
show you the TDS return part, which I think most of the people must be knowing. But still, I'll just demonstrate that what is the capability of the product, right? So let me take 3-4 questions in the next 3-4 minutes. Instead of passing payment entries through settlement of accounts module, can we pass normal payment entries? Yes. Treatment of TDS given advance payment. Yes, even TDS you can configure for advance payment as well. If excess TDS paid, what is the procedure for refund? This will have to pass an accounting entry and adjust it at TDS. Once we see the TDS screen, we will be able to see how that system helps you there. If there is a two payments of 30 lakhs of the same party, then Tally will automatically deduct TDS. Yes, it will deduct TDS. It understands to that extent. What will happen if we update the PAN numbers at a later date? This particular it's yeah. I'll just demonstrate this right now. What happens if we update the PAN number after in one party's case, Mayur agency, we have not given a PAN number, so we'll learn that in some time. Okay. Now let me go back to our case study, madam, and we'll take up the questions. Post that it is 4:10. Otherwise, we'll not be able to finish whatever we had planned. So this is the basic configuration of TDS. Now we go to display. We go to statutory reports. We go to TDS reports. We go to one form 26Q in this case, and we can configure it and put it for 1 month only for the time being, because we have done most of the entries for this particular month. So we can get this number of entries. we can also observe there's one uncertain transaction. Now, this is the transaction where possibly the PAN number is not there. So, this uncertain transaction, this particular report is called as triangulation report. This is where the product uses some kind of an intelligence to understand what all type of transactions and how they're affecting the TDS returns. So, whenever we are preparing this 26Q out of using Tally, we got to concentrate on this particular type of line items called uncertain transactions. Same like Tally normal usage, you just have to drill down. It will also give you what is the error in that particular transaction. It says PAN not available for the party. So press enter. It will give you the name of the party and whatever is the PAN. So now for this party, we are giving a PAN. Somebody had asked this question. So I'm just typing one random PAN number. So I'm saying applicable from 1st April. And I'm saying yes. Now this particular uncertain transaction, uncertainty is gone, but now it is telling me that I have deducted excess TDS here, because now I should have deducted TDS of only 6,000 rupees for this particular transaction. Instead of that, I have deducted 24,000. So 18,000 is an excess TDS. Now here I can see it party wise, or I can see category wise. Right? So I have an option here to toggle. I can see party wise or I can see category wise. Now, ideal situation, I have to go back to that party and alter my TDS, that original transaction of purchase, whatever I have booked. So I go back to my day book. And alter this particular transactions. Now I'm just demonstrating you that when I had created this Moir agency, I had not given a PAN number. Now, because now I have captured it, it has captured a PAN number here, and it is showing me PAN number as a part of that party's original configuration. Now I'm overriding these amounts, and I shall override this amount as minus 6,000 rupees only. Right? I have corrected the transaction. I go back to my statutory report, TDS report 26Q, and you can see it for the month of April. There is no excess, there is no uncertain transaction. All the transactions are here. I can see it party wise, I can see it category wise. This is how it gets corrected. Once this is done, I normally suggest to use this particular method. Once you are in this 26Q, on the last day of the month, you just go to stat payment, tell the system that you wish to pass this transaction for this particular period. I'm selecting all items, so I can make challan for all items. I select my bank and it generates a payment voucher. I go back to my first demonstration where I said the vouchers are generated automatically. The analyze part is done automatically, right? So you can check this. This is how the transaction would be generated. I just have to press enter and a payment transaction would be passed. I'm saving this transaction as payment voucher, giving some instrument number. Sorry, this date of the voucher should be 1st of May. So I'm passing this transaction as of 1st of May. So now you can see there's a challan here and it shows also as uncertain transaction here. I made a payment, but it still shows me there's a balance of payment here and it shows me a uncertain transaction here. nowadays the challan is not critical, but you can actually go to daybook and see the print preview as a challan. So you can actually use to generate a challan from Tally itself. Those days where challans were required to be printed, it is capable of generating a challan. You can go to this uncertain transaction and check this transaction. Okay, now this is the same screen as challan reconciliation. Friends, all of us will agree at the time when we make a payment, we do not know what is going to be the challan number. Whereas for TDS return, we typically need a challan number. The challan number will get post we make the payment. So once we have made the payment, we'll get a challan number. So system needs to be updated with the challan number and the BSR code of the bank. Now, if you can see, it is 7-digit. I have mistakenly entered only 6 digits. So it is telling me that it should be 7 digits. Challan number, I'm assuming it as 1. Challan date as 1/5. In my case, it is Kotak Bank. Branch name, I'm putting it as Mahim. This has to go for all the transactions. As of now, there is no shortcut for this. This has to be done because this information typically comes from outside, and this is required for the filing of income tax return. This is the activity called Challan reconciliation. And I'm saying accept yes. Now I go back. You can see this. My uncertain transaction has gone. It has come into an included in return transaction, and it is also showing me that I have made my payments. It is showing it as total amount paid as 24,000 rupees, and it is showing a balance payable as 0. So for the month of April, my TDS obligation is done. This is the basic activity. Once we have generated this, we can similarly do it for the entire period from 1st April to 30th June. Once this is done, assuming that this is the only data that we have, we can just go to export.
एकच महिन्यात आता
Okay, so here it is showing a balance payable of 6,000 rupees. So it is not generating. Let's go and create the start payment for the remaining value. Or we just do it for 1 month.
एक्सपोर्ट
Yeah, the total quarters is there. The payable and start payable. It is.
जून में सर
Delete that total. July wala transaction.
ट्रान्झॅक्शन कधी केलं बघा सर तू परचेस
Delete this transaction.
अल्टी करे डायरेक्ट अल्टी
So I'm deleting this transaction for May, which is a purchase transaction.
म्हटलं इथे ऑप्शन आहे सर
ऑप्शन
स्किप करायचं ट्रिलियन पण 4 दिसतात इन्क्लुडेड पण 4च दिसतात
transactions are correct. Actually allows you to generate a return from here. Why it is not happening? Anyway, right now it is not happening. It allows you to generate a return, e-return from here. For after generating e-return, it helps you to create a SDF file. Once you have created that file of SDF, you need this particular utility of file validation utility, to be downloaded, and just the SDF file has to be used file with this particular file validation utility, and then the return can be filed. This is the procedure. The same procedure has also been given here in the case study. It's an uncertain transaction. This is 26Q. This is payment of TDS. This is the challan reconciliation part. This is how the e-return is generated. This screenshots etc. are from Tally ERP 9. So it is a little older version of the case study, but it is still operates on TallyPrime as well. So this is how the export of TDS E format comes after that e-return, and you get what you have is an SDF file. This SDF file gets saved in Tally folder by default, as it is shown here as Tally text document. The same can be validated using this NSDL utility FUV, file validation utility. This is the file validation utility currently available. Right. So this is the fundamental demonstration of TDS and TDS returns. I'm sorry I could not generate the e-return right now. I'll just find out why, what is the reason. But otherwise, e-returns get generated and SDF file gets generated. No issues on that. This is what we have done. TDS nature of payment, challan reconciliation. There's also we may have TDS on fixed asset purchase as well. So in that case also there is it's possible to create fixed asset as work in progress. This is for stock item. There is a challan reconciliation, TDS return. Now, madam, we can go back to the query part of it.
Okay, so done. So, sir, Q&A only you can go through, all the
Yeah.
questions are there. So, just to say, a lot of people are asking for this document. So, as I've
I'll
said,
share it with you.
this has
I'll show it.
older screenshots from the older tally.
Yeah,
So, if it is still helpful, we can put it in the chat itself.
I will. I'll share it in the chat itself.
Yeah.
I'll share both
Okay.
the
Yeah, both the
case
PPT
study
as well as in the chat.
and the chat. One second.
So other than that, the content for the session is over, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll just check if there's any question that is still unanswered.
Yeah.
Can we do it with journal voucher? Yeah, even in journal, TDS calculates automatically. There is no problem. How could we fetch the non-deducted expenses report and 26Q FUV report? See, if you have already configured that a particular ledger is subject to TDS and we have not deducted TDS, then in that 26Q report, it will automatically show you as an error. As it showed for PAN, it will also show you short deduction, excess deduction, non-deduction, all those deductions, it will show you that error. Entry 60K, GST 10.8K, TDS will be done on a taxable value of 60K plus 10%. This can be done in Tally. Manish, we are saying that this can be done in Tally. In case of 194C, can Pramod Lima is saying configuration of category 1% as well as 2% can be done in the same screen. Same screen I have not tried, but it is possible. If we can make two separate line items, then it is possible that it will deduct at separate percentage, even if it is same ledger. How many treatment of TDS on given advance payments? This anonymous attendee, I have not understood the question. How many treatment of TDS on given advance?
How to maintain treatment
How to
of
maintain
TD.
it. Okay, TDS advance I have not covered right now, but it can be done. You can contact my office. We'll show you how to configure TDS on advance payments as well. Can you explain 194C where percentage and threshold limits are different? Okay. So we go to this configuration. Let us create TDS nature of payment. We are using this helper 194C. Payment to contractor, right? So this is 194C, payment to contractors. So I am selecting this 194C. Either you can create multiple TDS payment masters here, 194C, with one for 1%, one for 2%. So you can mention here as put it as 2%, give the exemption limit or whatever, and you can create one more less than 1 CR with 1%. This is how the configuration can be done. One of the ways is this is how the configuration can be done. Yeah. Which is advisable, sir? Either to have TDS deducted in the same voucher or a later stage. Normally, it is in the same voucher is what I normally configure. Later stage is possible if you typically have an accounts payable being outsourced or a person who is going to pass a bill the way the bill has been received from the supplier. So that bill passing will happen as the bill is, and then you pass a journal entry for TDS and then you make the payment. So it is a process that you set accordingly. It has to be defined. This is for C solutions questions. How to generate and export transaction wise details from Tally in 26Q return details. Okay, this is the same. You go to Tally transaction details ಇದನ್ನ ಗೊತ್ತಲ್ಲ? Display. ಇದನ್ನ. Where do you get this transaction details?
Transaction details में exact क्या होता है?
पुन्हा मला किती TDS deduct केलं पाहिजे.
इथे fill करा सर. डिटेल का control.
Is this what you're looking at?
So they'll not be able to say it, so we can proceed.
Fine. This is one transaction report where you can, which is exportable, and you can just export it from here. And say export to Excel, and it will get exported. And this will get exported. Can we import CSI file in Challan module for automatically feeding Challan details? As of now, whether Challan detail, Challan number, typically whether import facility is given by Tally, I'm not aware. But there are TDLs available for this. But Challan details, I normally prefer entering manually. But yes, if you really have multiple challans, but here typically it allows you only one challan in a month. So one challan will be manually cheaper rather than going for a TDL. Can share PDF after class. Yes, I can share. I'm sharing it anyways. Sometimes one party have two types of TDS deducted. That time, what will we do? So the TDS is not based on the party. It is based on the nature of payment and the transaction type. So you may have one supplier who is your contractor, who is also your commission agent, who is also having multiple services. So it is on transaction type that the TDS is deducted, not on the party base. So party we can select any item, and then we can have selected TDS on the basis of transaction type. Kindly save return, then it will show. Okay, e-return. Okay, that's my mistake. Thank you, anonymous attendee. I think I have to save the return, then only e-return would be generated. That's what the mistake was. I'll have to save the return and then e-return generated. How do we create online challan for TDS from Tally? So there is no online challan. It basically helps you to create a payment voucher. Online challan is the module that you have where the payment voucher gets converted into payment to bank. That is a point of time you'll be able to make a payment, but that will have to anyway do it in a separate module, not as a part of TDS module. So there is no online challan that we are generating from TDS module as of now. From where can we get the case study module which you are referring? Mr. Amit Jain, this is the advanced ITT courseware which the students of CA final students were using for their advanced ITT. Now the courseware has changed. Anyway, I'll share this with you. Can we get this module PDF file for reference purpose? Yeah, I'll share it with you. Dear sir, if we are importing purchase data from Excel to Tally, TDS is auto calculated or not? Yes, it depends on how you are importing the data. If you import the Excel template is correct, then the TDS will get imported. It will have the TDS impact. If I have created multiple company for the statewide GSTN under single PAN, will I be able to file TDS return through Tally? Or you created multiple companies. Now there is an option called group company. I need to check whether the TDS return works on group company or not. If you have created multiple companies with a single PAN for GSTN, but now the 6.0 onwards, the multiple GSTN also can be handled using the same company. So you, Srikant Thakurji, you need not have to maintain separate companies. You can have only one company in which you can maintain multiple GSTNs. Can we create?
Amit, so
Yeah.
because it will take time for people to download, so can you attach the file first
I'll
and
just share
then
it.
take up the questions? I think it is still uploading. I have not yet received in the chat.
It will come.
Yeah, we can proceed, sir.
TDS is directed on payment or credit, whichever is earlier basis. How do we tackle that in Tally? Tally is capable of tackling both, whichever hits first. There is something called the concept of new reference and against reference in Tally. So ideally, I normally prefer whatever transaction type, either it is advance payment or purchase, whichever is hitting having a new reference. I insist for Tally TDS being implemented against that particular transaction type. but Tally is capable of taking care of that, whether payment or credit, whichever is earlier. I have created multiple company for this. I think I answered this anonymous attendee that for statewide GSTN, you don't have to create separate databases statewide GSTN. You can have one company. As far as the other option is that if you have separate databases for a separate GSTN, I need to check whether we can create a group company and generate a TDS return out of a group company. I have not tested it myself. If time permits, please call me back. I will try and test it and then revert back to you on this, but it may be possible. Or the other option is synchronization. We can synchronize and then work on it. And we create FUE file in Tally. FVU file is uh, from the utility, right? I just showed you somewhere. FUE file. Yeah, this is where the FUE file. So this FUE file is not under control of Tally. So I don't know how we can create FVU file out of Tally. It is by the traces department. It is a department's prerogative to give that file. It is not under control of Tally, I believe. So I don't think that will be a logical thing to create FVU file in Tally, because it will keep updating. It has various versions. TDS is deductible on payment or credit, whichever is earlier. I answered this question. Yes.
No, sir, I think it's done.
It's done? Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for giving me a patient hearing. And sorry I could not generate that e-return. I'll try and
So, yeah, the e-return part also, I think you just had to save it. Rest all was okay.
just check whether it is saved then. I can save the return.
So we did cover the 194Q part, right? That
Yeah, yeah.
50,000 wala
We
thing.
have, we have
Yeah,
created.
we did. Yeah. Okay, I'll just.
Return open.
So a lot of people who are asking for the recording, as always, CA Connect recordings are uploaded in YouTube channel of Tally Solutions under Tally CA Connect playlist. You can, if
Now
you're
you can see
already,
the e-return.
yeah,
Now that e-return is visible. If my screen is
yeah,
visible.
perfect. Yeah, exactly. Yes.
And this is where the SDF file will get stored.
Yeah.
On this text.
Yeah, you can see this text file and it goes under.
इथे नो करा वरती वरती
It gets exported and it goes and saves under this particular file, text document file. This is what requires to be uh, done, the file validation utility. That's all what is required.
Perfect. Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. And thank you to the audience. Actually, each and everywhere, wherever sir had a difficulty, and everybody had so much
They
answers.
were more intelligent than what I am.
Nor, I wouldn't say that. It's just what I was going to say is it's so good that all the professionals are together and the CA Connect forum, like by the CA and for the CA thing. And
Yeah.
it's so good. So, sir has already shared the module. And if you're already part of the CA community, you can just write in there that you want to see the recording. We can post as and when it is ready after the editing. And if you're not part of the CA community and not a CA but join for the knowledge purpose, you can go to Tally Solutions YouTube channel. You'll find it there. So I just send it the uh, link for the WhatsApp community one more time so that they can just see it. I hope people have downloaded the file which we have sent.
Yeah, anyway, it is available on institute site. So if you
Yeah,
have any
perfect.
student who's CA final student, you can ask him to log in and download it. But I think it is available for free download to anyone. I don't know whether they've deleted now, because they have
Okay.
now seems to
The
be having a
syllabus is
new
modified. Yeah.
curriculum. But there is this old curriculum was dealt till last month. I'm not sure about this month.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Amit sir. So many questions answered. It's so great to see more than
Thank you,
180
Komal, for
people
giving me
still with us.
opportunity. Thank you, Tally, and
Thank you,
thank you
sir.
all the viewers.